Before we get into today's game, I want to talk about the sponsors for my channel. Card Conduit is the best way to sell your unused magic cards. Whether you've got a box of unsorted bulk, or a complete and alphabetized set, there's a great option for everyone. With a payout averaging 19% better than using any one buy list, and that's after fees are applied, you can rest assured you'll get the best bang for your buck. If you're a skeptic like me, their easy customer service and detailed reports make the whole interaction transparent and safe. And if you use the affiliate link in the description below, or the promo code mtgduskmourn, you'll save 10% off their fees. And 401 Games, Canada's one-stop shop for trading cards, board games, and hobby supplies. Not to mention an easy-to-use and great online buy list. And if you use the promo code mtgduskmourn, your first purchase of MTG sealed and singles will be 5% off. Known for their awesome sleeves and deck boxes, did you know that Dragon Shield also has an app? It's true, they've got MTG Card Manager. Using your phone, you can scan your collection in any language, and get real-time information on the language and price of the card. There's even a handy deck building feature allowing you to put that collection into decks, so you know where each card is. You can find MTG Card Manager out now in any applicable app store. Before we get into today's game, I just want to give a huge thank you to Wizards of the Coast. They invited me to become part of their ambassador program for Duskmourn. They sent me the Precons and a bit of sealed product to be able to help tweak and upgrade the decks and build other decks, and allowed me to release it early, which is fantastic. I'm super excited to do this, and I hope to do it more in the future. If you're interested at all at some of these new cards, a card gallery, where to pick it up, I've included a super handy link down below, so be sure to check it out. Today's patron shoutout goes to Wes Allen. Thanks, Wes, for your continued support through Patreon. Hey gang, and welcome back to the second Duskmourn Precon game. This time around, we've taken the other commanders, with Max playing the Lord of Pain. He keeps Tectonic Giant, Mask of Grizzlebrand, Enchanter's Bane, Mayhem Devil, Swamp, Mountain, and Bloodfell Caves. Maximus is playing Kianne, keeping Greater Tanuki, Growing Dread, Multani Yavimaya Avatar, Drownyard Temple, Terramorphic Expanse, and 2 Forests. Mathieu is playing the Master of Keys, keeping Inkshield, Adhikar Wastes, Fear of Sleep Paralysis, Ash Barrens, Oromancer, Orzhov Signet, and Azorius Signet. Last but not least, I am playing Rendmaw, keeping Baron Moor, Twilight Mire, Forest, Reliquary Tower, Mindstone, Putrefy, and a Hornet Queen. Max wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws and plays a tapped Temple of Malice, scrying 1. Maximus just plays a Terramorphic Expanse. Matt draws, plays an Adhikar Wastes, and passes. I've just got a Forest return, and I pass back to Max. Max draws, plays a Swamp, and then casts a Rakdos Signet. He passes, with Maximus cracking the Expanse to go and find an island during his end step. Maximus has a Forest return, and pays 2 for Sakura Tribe Elder. With nothing else, he passes. During his end step, Matt casts Otherworldly Gaze, leaving all the cards on top. Mathieu draws, plays a Swamp, and casts an Azorius Signet. I've got a Swamp for turn, and it seems like for turn 2 everyone's got to play, so I decide to join in with an Arcane Signet. Max has a Mountain, and's got enough at this point for Tectonic Giant. He then passes, and during his end step, Maximus sacrifices Sakura Tribe Elder to go and find another island. Maximus' turn is very quick, as he plays a Forest and casts Kianne. Mathieu draws and plays an Ash Barrens. He then casts an Orzhov Signet. He taps the Signet to cast Read the Bones, scrying 2, drawing 2, and losing 2. He then passes to me. I draw and play a Forest, and then tap 2 for a Mindstone. Max goes to combat and swings the Tectonic Giant at Maximus, choosing to exile his top 2. He picks Rampaging Ferocidon to cast. Maximus then takes all 3, and in his second main phase, Max casts the Lord of Pain and passes. Maximus draws and puts a counter onto Kianne. He then plays a Drownyard Temple and goes to combat. He swings his commander at Matt for 3, who takes the hit. With nothing else, Maximus passes. Matt draws and plays a Plains, and then casts the Master of Keys, putting 3 into the X. Max decides to have me take 6 from the Lord of Pain, and Matt's commander then comes into play, and mills 6 cards, plus puts 3+1/+1 counters onto it. He then passes, and during his end step, I cycle Rendmaw to draw a card. I draw and play a Twilight Mire. I then cast Rendmaw. This time around, Mathieu takes 5 from the Lord of the Pain, and as my commander comes into play, I give everyone a 2/2 Goaded Bird token, and I pass turn. Max draws and plays a Bloodfell Cave, which comes in tapped and gains him 1. He then plays the Rampaging Ferocidon. He follows it up by casting Enchanter's Bane, and going to combat, he swings his Bird and Tectonic Giant at Maximus, and the Lord of Pain goes at Mathieu. The Tectonic Giant exiles his top 2, and Max chooses Valkavoth, Harrower of Souls, and before damage, Maximus responds by flashing in Ashaya, which gives Max a Lord of the Pain trigger. I take 5, and Maximus then blocks the Giant with Ashaya, and takes 2 from the Bird, and Matt takes 5 from the Lord of the Pain connecting. After that, Max chooses the Master of Keys with Enchanter's Bane, and Mathieu takes 3, and with nothing else, Max passes. Maximus draws and puts a counter onto Kianne. He then plays an island and casts Augur of Autumn, with the Lord of Pain dealing 3 to me. Maximus then goes to combat and swings out at Max. Max takes all of it, dropping to 26, and Maximus then passes. Mathieu draws and plays a Caves of Koilos, and he then goes to combat. He swings out at Max as well, and Max takes another 8, and Mathieu passes. I play a Reliquary Tower for turn, and then cast Skola Grove Dancer. Maximus takes 2 from the Lord of the Pain, and Rendmaw gives everyone another Goaded Bird token. I then go to combat, and swing my Bird token at Max, and Rendmaw goes at Maximus, and both of the Maxes take their hits. With nothing else, I pass. Max's turn has him playing a Foreboding Ruins, and he then casts Valgavoth from exile. He follows it up with Seance Board, and then goes to combat. He swings both birds at Maximus, and Maximus takes the 4. Max then deals 3 more damage to Mathieu with the Enchanter's Bane as he passes turn. During his end step, Maximus flashes in Scroll of Fate, and the Lord of Pain deals 3 to me. Maximus draws and puts another counter onto his commander. He then plays Reliquary off the top, and he goes to combat. He swings his commander at me, and Ashaya and the birds at Max. Max chumps Ashaya with the Rampaging Ferocidon, and eats a bird with Valgavoth, and I take 5 from Kianne. Maximus then passes, and Max puts a counter onto the Seance board during the end step. Mathieu draws and goes to combat. He swings out at Max again, and Max blocks a bird with Valgavoth and takes the rest. After combat, Mathieu casts Brainstone, which has Maximus taking 1 from the Lord of the Pain trigger. Mathieu then passes once it resolves. I draw and cast Hornet Queen, which gives Max a huge Lord of the Pain trigger, and he deals 7 to Maximus. I then go to combat and swing all out at Max to take him out. Before damage though, Maximus flashes in Multani, which gives Max the opportunity to deal 6 to me with the Lord of the Pain on his way out. Max still dies though, but does trade 2 of his creatures for Rendmaw on the way out as well, and after that, I pass. Maximus draws and puts a counter onto Kianne. Going to combat, he swings his bird, Ashaya, and Kianne at Mathieu, but Mathieu casts Inkshield in response. This has the damage fogged, and Mathieu makes 20/1 Inkling tokens. After combat, Maximus casts Sandorge Convergence to guard himself against the Inklings, and he goes then to his end step, making a Worm token and passing. Matt draws and escapes Demon of Fate's design from his graveyard with the Master of Keys. He then pays 6 life to cast Fear of Sleep's Paralysis from hand, and uses it to stun Ashaya. Going to combat, he swings the bird token at me because of Sandward Convergence, but adds 11 Inklings to the attack as well to take me out. I trade with 5 of the Inklings, but still die, and Mathieu then passes turn. Maximus draws and casts Simone Mystery Unraveler, and since she enters as a land with Ashaya, this allows him to Manifest Dread. The Manifest Dread also triggers Simone because it's also a land, and with that ability on the stack, Maximus uses Scroll of Fate to manifest a card from his hand, which turns out to be a World Spide Worm as he flips it face up. Going to combat, Maximus then swings a bird, a worm, and Multani at Matt. Mathieu has a Swords of Plowshares and targets Multani, which exiles it and gains Maximus 17 life. Mathieu then blocks the worm with his commander, and the bird token with Fear of Sleep Paralysis. Both of Maximus' creatures die, and he makes another worm token on his end step as he passes. Mathieu's turn has him drawing for turn, and then casting one with the Multiverse by paying life instead of mana for it the first time around. Mathieu gets a trigger from Fear of Sleep's Paralysis, and he stuns the Worldstein Worm. And he then casts Sigil of the Empty Throne off the top for free. This in turn stuns the Worm token, and he then casts Amanatu off the top. With all of his creatures having flying, Mathieu has to pass turn. During his end step, Maximus flashes in Growing Dread and Manifest Dread, which has Simone manifest another card, which because it's also a land, gets to flip it up, and it's a Curator Beastie. Maximus' turn has him continuing to grow Kianne, but with nothing else, he just passes turn. During his end step, Mathieu cracks the Brainstone, drawing 3 and putting 2 back, while Maximus makes another worm token. Mathieu draws and plays a tapped Halimar Depths. He then casts an Ondu Spirit Dancer, and follows up with a Life's Insurance for free, which he's able to make a copy of thanks to the Spirit Dancer. Mathieu also makes an Angel off the Sigil of the Empty Throne, and he stuns the Curator Beastie and Kianne with Sleep Paralysis triggers. Mathieu then continues his turn, casting Telling Time and paying for the extort cost once, and gaining 1 life and draining 1 life. Maximus draws and goes to combat. He swings his 2 Manifest creatures at Mathieu, and unfortunately, with life insurance affecting all creatures and not just Mathieu's, Matt has to either block and take lethal, or take lethal, so Maximus wins the game. Game review time. This one was much faster than the first one, whereas the first one was about 2.5 hours. This was 45 minutes, and that was due to 2 of the commanders, the Lord of Pain and Rendmaw. I played Rendmaw, and I thought it was a pretty sweet commander. I think if you want to build around it, you probably need to include a lot more cards than are what are in the Precon, because you really want to be casting spells with those multiple types. Kindred, I think, works like a Kindred Sorcery, since that's 2 types. Artifact creatures, enchantment creatures, stuff like that. Those will really help you power up the deck. I love the fact that the birds come in tapped and goaded, meaning that their opponents will basically have free range of whoever they want to attack, except for you, obviously. And chances are their birds are then going to be attacked for the next opponent, meaning that there's just going to be more and more flying birds smashing face. I thought that was pretty cool. The Lord of Pain, however, was dangerous. I've played with Karavek decks before, and usually people at that point are a little bit more cautious. The Lord of Pain kind of feels almost political in the sense that the person casting the spell is never going to get hit by it, and chances are the person who has the Lord of Pain is never going to get hit by it, except in rare occasions. And basically it means whatever you're casting, your other 2 opponents are going to get blasted in the face for. I think that's super cool, and as you saw with Karavek, with life gain, it gets out of hand. We filmed another couple games with this deck, but upgraded, which I'm going to release in the coming weeks, and it is awesome. Like, look forward to that immensely. Master of the Keys, I think of the 2, is probably the better Enchantress commander, insofar as it fills up your graveyard, and then it gives all those enchantments escape, which makes it easier to cast what you want, when you want, as opposed to relying on top decking. I think Amanatu is great, but you really need to build around top deck manipulation to get the best out of her. I think something like Soothsaying would be absolutely incredible. Sensei's Divining Top, obviously, because it's just a super good card. But just having the ways to set up is critical, and I think we were missing that even with the Surveil. It just wasn't enough, it felt like. Whereas Master of the Keys, as I saw with Mathieu, he was casting giant enchantments, and between the one that let him pay life and the one that let him cast 1 spell for free, it's felt like more of an Enchantress-based deck as a result of that. Maximus is playing Kianne, or Kianne. I wasn't as impressed as I was with Zimone. I thought it was kind of cool that she keeps getting bigger and you have to keep track of how much her power is to sort of get a sense of what he can flash out. But overall, I just found that Zimone was the powerhouse of the deck. I think the Manifest Dread / Manifest / Morph is just a much stronger archetype. And hopefully we get to see that deck improved a little bit, because it was super sweet. Matilda, why did you have to yell just there? Huh? This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.